Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another episode of the review show. And in this one, it just happens to have turned out this way that there is one CD and everything else is on vinyl. I've kept the box set reviews separate. Some of them will be reviewed as separate videos and others are together so I can do the unboxing elements as well. But in this particular show, I'm focusing on standalone albums. And the first band I'm going to share with you is a band called Seven Sisters. This is the only one I have in this particular episode that's on CD. And the album is called Shadow of a Fallen Star Part 2. This is a new band to me. They've been going for about 10 years. And this is an important thing I want to get across, is that I know that the demographic of the Now Spinning Magazine YouTube channel and very much the website and the communities is kind of like an older rock fan, although over the last few months we are gaining more younger viewers as well. But the reason I say that is I thought this was a brand new band. And if you go back to when I was getting into music, if a band had been together 10 years, it was such an event. I remember The Who being on the TV in the mid-70s because they were the only band that's still together after 10 years. And now it doesn't mean anything, does it? Bands are together for decades. So when you find a band that you think, gosh, this is there's new hope for British heavy metal in 2025, and then you realise they've been together, literally for 10 years, and this is not their first album either. It's fantastic stuff. It's melodic, twin lead guitar stuff, but it is metal. It's, obviously there's an Iron Maiden influence in there as well. We've reviewed it for the Now Spinning Magazine website already. Wayne McAloon, who is one of my writers, has written some great stuff on it. So it'll help me give you an overview from what he said, really. One of the things to say is that technically, there's one giant track on this album. It's very sci-fi influenced, and that epic track is called Andromeda Descending, which is in 5 parts. And the other tracks on side 1, if you've got the vinyl version, is 3 tracks in itself. It starts very softly, and then we're into the kind of these really heavy riffs and stuff. But what Wayne has said here is that the band was formed back in 2013, and this is their 4th album, and it's a mixture of 80s and 90s melodic metal with a leaning towards European power metal. Which I would agree. I love where he says that he's talking about one aspect of the song here, and he says that the track is long, but the band move through each section like an orchestra moving through a sonata. It never feels laboured or loses its way, and the arrangements are excellent. Solar Winds, which is one of my favourites as well, opens up with more twin harmonies, sweeping lead lines, before an immediate early breakdown, then back to the heavy metal aspects of the track. The main, obviously, key part of this album is Andromeda Descending, which is an epic song in itself. There's lots of time signatures, etc., but there's some wonderful lead playing. And yes, it is heavy metal. There are kind of like Iron Maiden influences, but if you can imagine Wishbone Ash, if they'd been more of a heavy metal band, I think that is also something that's quite brings you into what it might sound like. It is 80s melodic rock, as Wayne says as well, and he's put it's a bit like Blade Runner meets 80s rock, driving heavy metal, climatic finish to this track. It is excellent stuff. And the band members, I'll give them a name check, because I'm also hoping, if possible, to talk to them. They're currently on tour. So it's Kyle McNeil on vocals and guitars and synths, Sammy Christou on drums, Gaz Martin on bass, and Graham Farmer on guitars. And it's on Cherry Red. Now, Cherry Red, as you know from this channel, are the absolute masters of reissues and boxes and stuff like that. But with the signing of Son of Man, Cats in Space, and Seven Sisters, they now really are becoming a label that's helping support new rock music. And this is very important. So please give this a stream or listen. And if you are into that kind of, Iron Maiden style music, but it's more sci-fi based. I mean, read the review. I'll leave you a link in the description. It's on the website. Go and see them live. They're well worth listening to. So that is Seven Sisters and Shadow of a Fallen Star Part 2. That's out now. And it is available on vinyl as well, as now everywhere we go in this show is going to be vinyl based. Next up is a band that's been around for a long time, and this is a classic double live album from the 70s that's about to be reissued in an 8 CD box set. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Quo Live, originally released in 1977, recorded over 3 nights at the Glasgow Apollo, a classic double live album that captured Status Quo at their peak. Many Quo fans will say that this was the final hurrah of that golden period of Piledriver, Hello, Quo, On the Level, Blue for You, and this. And those are the core Quo albums, aren't they? Anyway, what I'm really building up to talk to you about is this. Now, this is a Record Store Day release from Demon Records, who are also going to do the CD box set as well. But this has been released in the wild in a limited edition. I'm not sure whether it's 750 copies or 3,000 copies. All I know is on eBay, there are already copies of this going for about £390, which is really, really pisses me off, to be honest. The people that buy this and just want to make money out of fans who really wanted this. So if you can find it still, because it's sold rapidly, but if you can find a copy for a reasonable price, then yes, if you really want it. Otherwise, hold back for the CD box set. It's not a gatefold sleeve, but it does have the original inner sleeves that you remember, those of you remember from the original double live album. This is from the first night, which is the 27th of October 1976. It's recorded, that the album came out in 77. So what's the remix like? It's absolutely outstanding, is how the remix is. I think on the original album, they obviously captured a really wild audience night. I mean, anything recorded in Glasgow is always a very wild and lively live recording. But I've always felt that the original Quo live album, that the vocals were a bit kind of too much on stage, if you know what I mean. The guitars sound great and all the rest of it, but the vocals always sounded a bit as if you really were in the balcony. With the remix, the vocals are further forwards, the guitars and bass and drums they're beefier. There's this much better sound separation, I felt. Especially when you realise the intricacies of the improvisational aspects of Status Quo. I think now, of course, that everything is meted out to they're playing the hits or the rest of it. You could say they were playing their hits where they were then as well, but if they do 4,500 times now, it won't take up half a side of vinyl like it did back then. And Roadhouse Blues certainly wouldn't have taken up nearly 2/3 of a side of vinyl. And also say that Roadhouse Blues, for some people, is like a track that it's so associated with the Doors that how many versions of that do you want to hear? Because I know Blue Oyster Cult did it, which I never liked their version. Deep Purple did it, and I didn't like their version either. But Status Quo made it their own. They put like little Irish jigs in and all sorts of things, and it really, really works. The set list of these 3 nights won't be that different, really, because Francis Rossi is... he's going to control freak's probably the wrong word, but he likes things to be done a certain way, rehearsed. He's an absolute professional. So I imagine they put down, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. We're going to record it over 3 nights, and we'll just pick the best tracks. So they didn't dare, I don't think, deviate too much. But Blackwater, Just Take Me is a better way. Brilliant. In the Chair was, of course, the older track then. Little Lady from On the Level, most of the time, 4,500 times, which is my favourite from Hello anyway. Roll Over, Lay Down, Big Fat Mama, Caroline, Bye Bye Johnny, and Rain. The version of Rain on here and the guitar solo, it's great. So what this has told me is is that the box set, which comes out later, is going to be essential. And I know they tried before with a deluxe version of the Quo Live, but they couldn't find the tapes, could they? And what happened was they found the multitracks in amongst a Peterson Lee box. Francis Rossi was sure that the multitracks existed, and he was right. So if you can't find this, don't worry too much, because the box set on the 8 CD box set is going to deliver in spades. But this is wonderful to have as the first night. Right, where to now? Progressive rock. Next. This was a wonderful surprise. I didn't know what to expect. If you like Transatlantic, if you like Neil Morse, then this will tick every box that you imagine if you made a list of what you want from those names. It's Neil Morse on keyboards, guitars and vocals, Phil Keaggy on guitars and vocals, Brian House on fretless bass and bass, and Chester Thompson on drums. It's also available on CD. This is a double album with the lyric sheet, etc. I'll show you. You can see got the lyrics here. I'll just move that out of the way, actually. Bear with me. And a picture of the band in the gatefold sleeve. The Deep Water Suite is literally 23 minutes long on one side 3, and then it continues another 15 minutes on side 4. On side A, there's The Heart of Life, which is nearly 14 minutes long, and on side B, again, is 6, 8, 9 minutes long tracks. But obviously on vinyl, some have been split up to make sure they fit on the vinyl itself. It's a deeply beautiful album. If you like Transatlantic and, as I said, Neil Morse, you'll love this. Chester Thompson is a marvellous drummer who you may know from Genesis, but he's also released a fantastic, what he called progressive funk album last year. All of the guys are active Christians. It's a very spiritual album. I've been very lucky to talk to Neil Morse, who's a really inspiring character, and I also was very lucky to interview Chester Thompson as well. So to see them both on the same project, and to when you read in the thank you part of the record how each of them are so grateful and gracious to be able to record music like this. But if you like progressive rock that's pastoral, melodic, inspiring, and these guys' background, whatever you sit yourself regards to thinking of what you think about music that is in some ways lyrically very spiritual, is that it's a very, very uplifting album. All of it, I mean, especially The Door to Heaven ticks all the boxes, and they turn that part of themselves up to 11 for that. And it does almost sound like a worship song towards the end. But the rest of it is just beautifully played. And it's really uplifting. And it's definitely a great surprise to me and a highlight of the albums that I've heard so far in this year, where I'm in April. And it's going into the pile for my end of the year review. Next, we're moving away from progressive rock to something very different. This is Isabelle Campbell and Mark Lanegan, Keep Me in Mind, Sweetheart. This is another record store they release, and this is just 6 tracks. These are the leftover tracks from a previous album, so I need to just bring something up on screen for me to see, really, so I get all my facts straight, because this was quite a new album for me. These are basically the leftovers, it says, from the album Sunday at Devil Dirt. It's an EP, and if you like Leonard Cohen, or that kind of really melancholy, swampy sound, then you'll like this. It's very Leonard Cohen. It's very dark. It's mainly acoustic, violin tango, is exactly what it sounds like. Very kind of scratchy, almost not. I don't mean the violin, but the kind of sound effects they've got around the violin. Rambling Rose, and they look like real characters. If I just show you this, I'll just bring myself back onto the screen. Here you go. There's Isabelle, looking very jolly. And on the back as well. I think that kind of sums up the kind of dramatic, melancholy aspect of the music. But I really enjoyed it, and it's not the only Leonard Cohen influenced album I have here either, because I have another. It's Benmont Tench, and this was a real surprise. And this has been on the turntable a lot. This is the Melancholy season. And I just absolutely love the artwork on the front of this. It kind of suits what the music's like. As I said, this is the second album that has a kind of Leonard Cohen feel to it. Now, Benmont Tench, I've made some notes for this to make sure I get this right. He was a founder member of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This is his first album in over a decade. It's a beautiful record. It's very varied. It's very gentle in places. It's just perfect. I found it very uplifting. Benton's recorded with Stevie Nicks, Willie Nelson, Alanis Morissette, Bob Dylan, Neil Diamond, Screaming Trees, John Prine, Waylon Jennings, John Fogerty, Elvis Costello, the Rolling Stones, and Johnny Cash. This is a great album. And and if you're a Tom Petty fan, I think you'll find there's much to enjoy here. Gatefold sleeve, black vinyl, inner sleeve with all the lyrics on, but marvellous stuff. So that is Benmont Tench for that one. And now we're going back to progressive rock, but this is really progressive metal for this next album. Now, this I really loved as well. Who is it? It's a good point, because this is one of these fonts where I'm not sure whether it was an absolutely great idea to have a font like that. Can you see what that says? It's actually Sometime in February, which is an interesting name anyway, and it's Where Mountains Hide. And the hype sticker on the front says, it is sophisticated and accessible instrumental progressive metal. Features guest appearances from Paul Wagner and Dan Briggs, Between Buried and Me, and Eric Guthner from The Contortionist. Now, on the back, you can see it lists lots of different tracks that are on this, but when you listen to it, everything segues from one to the other. I'll just put that on there so you can see it. But I absolutely love this album. When you think of progressive metal, most people will think of bands like Dream Theater. There are no vocals on this, which means that it's just going to be a wiggly wiggly fest. It isn't. There are intense solo aspects to it, but everything is built around, I say built around the song. It's built around motifs and music that is very accessible. There are the riffs, the kind of the percussions, the drums, is kind of like stop-start funk metal kind of stuff. There's all sorts of different flavors and stuff going on here. Also, on adding to the sound, we have keys and sound design by Eric Guthner, additional sound design by Dan Briggs, Scott Barber, Tristan Ehrman, additional keys by Tristan Ehrman and Scott Barber, additional guitars by Scott Barber, guest guitar solo on The Bad Fight by Paul Wagner, saxophone Rich Costello, and additional production by Kevin King. It's a great album, and the mysterious. There's only three of them, so they are prog, metal, power trio, I guess. And they're not facing the cameras to keep the mysterious aspect in full flow. But it's a wonderful record. Music like this isn't immediate. It's like a splattered blue vinyl. It isn't immediate, but what's important is it pulls you in enough to want to listen to it again. And this is, again, it's one of those albums where each listen, it gives away more of its secrets. And in some ways, the first album I mentioned, Seven Sisters, although that's vocal-driven heavy metal, is another album, actually, that the more you listen to it, the more it grows on you. So when you listen to this, you might think instrumental, progressive rock, it's going to sound like something missing. It doesn't. And I'm quite cynical on stuff like this. I've heard so many of these things where it's all like, look at me type stuff. But this isn't like that. It's as if they're trying to create a groove amongst the three of them to make the music accessible but exciting. And each time you listen to it, it sounds coherent. I'm still not putting this across really well here, but I know that some of these things just sound like an excuse just to get to the solo section. You don't notice that because everything is built like one voice. It's excellent stuff. Right. So, sometime in February, we're now moving on to a classic reissue. And this is Gillan and Magic. My original vinyl edition of this is very wounded or well loved, depending on how you look at that. This is the double vinyl reissue from Demon Records. Yes, it's on red vinyl, but it also includes lots of outtakes, which were only available on the original CD. The reissue of the CD from Enzel Records. Breaking Chains, Purple Sky, Fiji, Helter Skelter, Smokestack Lightnings, South Africa, John, and South Africa, the 12-inch version, by which time, of course, Gillan had gone. But this is the best place to book those. So it's wonderful to have them on this set. Magic was seen as, I remember one of my friends saying, it's called Magic, but it isn't really that magic. But I disagree, because it had the tracks on it that really were magic were the ones which were Gillan Towns compositions, and Demon Driver is one of those. It's an absolutely fantastic track. So is Driving Me Wild, What's the Matter, Bluesy Bluesy. You're So Right. Some of the tracks on here should have been bigger singles than they were, but of course Gillan had his eyes on other things by the time this came to an end. But it's a great pressing, and of course, if you've recently got the Gillan box set on CD box set, you might not need to go here, but it is wonderful stuff. Next, this again you could be classed as progressive metal, but this time we have vocals. This is Tiktaalika, or if I've got that right, yes, Tiktaalika, Gods of Pangaea. This is one of the members of Hearken coming out on their own with a very sci-fi or typical metal type artwork that some of us may remember from the 80s, dinosaurs and churches and such like. So the lyrics, it's a concept album. It's on a gloriously coloured vinyl as well. What do I think of this? This is on Inside Out Records, as the last one. Two of my other releases have been on that as well. And they always come in polyline sleeves from Inside Out Records, so they always get extra marks for that anyway. Side one, I absolutely adored, to be honest. It was very, very aggressive, very intense metal, great riffs, great production. There is that kind of growly death Cookie Monster vocal in there as well, but it was used primarily as backing for the choruses to add depth and dimension and different textures to that. And it was absolutely fine because I love Opeth. I'm fine with Blood Incantation, was one of my favourite albums last year, and that's a band that uses that vocal style a lot. And side two started like that as well. There's a book coming in, maybe, and it was primarily The Lost Continent, where that style of vocal delivery was used more than any other track. And I felt it distracted me from the music. Up to that point, I was playing this at a fair volume. I was really enjoying it, making notes. And then we came to that last track and I found myself getting up to turn it down a bit. That's just me. If you've got this album, let me know what you think. But I found musically, I really liked it. I was fine. I thought it was really exciting until the last track, and I just felt that style of delivery, if it used the more traditional vocal style, I think that might have been, to me, a better way to end the album. But that'd just be me. Let me know in the comments if you think that what I'm saying there you agree with or not. Next is completely different style of music. Any ideas who this is? This is Ichiko Aoba, Luminescent Creatures. If you open it up, it's a Japanese artist, and it's absolutely superb. Dan Aston, my eldest son, reviewed this for the Now Spinning magazine website. So I'm just going to read some of his review out because it will make more sense. And because what Dan says describes this music really, really well. It says, Ichiko albums are like gateways to distant worlds, while her unique blend of ethereal folk music has been enchanting audiences in Japan for more than 15 years. She remains largely unknown in foreign shores. That's true, although she is booked to play the Royal Albert Hall in 2026, so she's gaining ground. And when you look at her tour dates, she'll be playing London and then Honolulu or somewhere the following day. Dan says that her music has gained greater attention in the wake of 2020's Windswept Adam album, which was an ambitious concept album. And Luminescent Creatures is another portal into a realm that feels both ancient and new. Opening with Tiktaalika, the scene is set with dreamy kaleidoscope of folk, classical and jazz that's synonymous with every record that she's made. It's a patchwork of complex and understated tracks that combine to create a sense of winding, unpredictable journey. Dan says it's one of the most beautiful albums you'll hear this year. Despite being just 36 minutes long, it leaves you feeling as if you've travelled a great distance to a destination that beckons you back as soon as the needle pops up. It is a beautiful album, and it's probably unlike anything else you've heard. And this is also on a glorious turquoise blue. But it is like Japanese classical folk with her ethereal vocals floating on top and her classical guitar underneath. Absolutely superb stuff. So thank you, Dan, for that review as well. Right, where are we now? We're nearly there. What have we got? Right, we need another genre, don't we? We've moved now into Japanese folk classical. I think we should go to jazz. This is a brand new artist to me. I did not know about this person at all. In fact, this only came a couple of days ago. It's Donovan Hafner, and it's Elevate. This is solo jazz, and I don't hear many solo jazz albums nowadays. It's Donovan Hafner on alto saxophone, Francesco Garcia de Paredes on guitar, Jay Verma on piano, Harry Pierce on double bass, and Harry Ling on drums. All instrumental, all absolutely beautiful compositions. Coltrane, Davis, all these classic jazz people. And, when we think of classic rock, everyone heads back to the 70s. When we think of classic jazz, we're all back to the late 50s, early 60s. And I started this review show by talking about Seven Sisters, saying that there is new rock music coming out. You need to focus and support new rock music and not just always look backwards to what's been. It's the same with jazz. And this is a new artist, and it's a fantastic record. It just changes the atmosphere of the room. There's slow ballads, slow moving jazz, kind of just like the kind of blue feel to it. Yes, I'm name dropping classic albums there, because to me, when I listen to this, my thought was, wow, if you're someone that doesn't think jazz is for you, you would still like this. It would help the coffee taste better in your house, I think. And that isn't to say that this is the kind of music that sits very neatly in a coffee house, but it is beautiful. It's definitely one of the best jazz albums I've heard this year. I've had a few to listen to, but this, without doubt, is I think the first one I've actually featured. But it's wonderful, and it's Donovan Hafner and, as I say, Alleviate. So it's a wonderful record. That's out now. What label's this out on? Does it say? I think it's I'll drop a link in because I think it's a self-finance thing. By the look of it, it's recorded, and this is the thing about jazz. It's recorded over 2 days, the 17th and 18th of October 2024. So this isn't something that was taken like 3 months to record or whatever. Absolutely fantastic. Mixed and mastered by David Darlington. Lovely stuff. Right. And the next ones, we're heading into the world of space rock for the last 2 albums I'm going to feature. And this is on Skidmark Records. Now, I have featured albums from this label before. And they really are records that are very much really influenced by, when I say space rock, Hawkwind. Where should we go first? I've got to make sure I look at the right ones here, because there are 2 to show you. Lord of Form. Yeah, right. Let's do this one first. Lord of Form. And it's called Our Shared Humanity. There are just 2 tracks on side B. This is, I say it sounds like Hawkwind. Hawkwind, punk, techno, heavy metal, space rock, it's all in there. Now, there is a Hawkwind connection here because this is Neil Hove, who's actually the ex-Hawkwind bass player, and Nigel Potter used to play with Andrew Alan Davey, another ex-Hawkwind bassist. So it really is great stuff. This, I say, it's on Skidmark Records, which you can get to skidmark.org to find out more about this release. And the other one, the final one I want to tell you about, is Nigel Potter and Technophobian. This is a double album of Hawkwind inspired music. I don't like saying that too much in case people think they're copyists. They're not. This is about the 4th album from this label I've got. And each one is different. I would say that these 2 I'm showing you now are the best I've heard from this label. This really is driving Hawkwind-inspired rock, but there's that kind of punk attitude to it. But there's also the really modern keyboard techno sounds on both of these. But they're absolutely superb. And this, again, is Skidmark Records. And this is, as I said, Nigel Potter and Technophobian. So that is my review show for, I'm going to say this month, because what I'm going to do is, as soon as I've got enough things together, I'll just turn them into another review show. So the next one is going to be a few of the clamshell box sets that have been arriving. And if it's a big release, then that will have a standalone review on its own as per normal. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Any questions? Put them in the comments or reach out to me via the website. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. So please take care, keep spinning those records. And remember, please subscribe and ring that little bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you want to go a bit further in how you support Now Spinning Magazine, there are fantastic benefits and perks. The main ones being you can join our private community for music fans on Facebook and also on WhatsApp. We have lots of subgroups. We look about offers and deals and people just talking about music. And we have a twice monthly meetup at our own virtual pub with the Now Spinning Arms. But as I've said, music is the healer and the doctor. Please keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.